Mateo Mendoza's nightmare started with a profoundly boring event. On a bright afternoon in Puerto Esperanza, he was suddenly banned from entering a military building. The strange part is, Mateo had never worked in that building. He had never even asked to go inside. The consequences bypassed him entirely and landed on his partner, Major General Evelyn Brooks. Evelyn was a senior officer at the Pan-Continental Allied Command. Almost immediately after Mateo's access was flagged, her security clearance was quietly restricted. One evening, she came home carrying a cardboard box containing the unclassified remains of her career. They found themselves entirely trapped. Evelyn was placed under a continuing personnel review, but the institution refused to provide a specific allegation for her to answer. Mateo was generating the security concern, but because he had no official standing within the military network, he had no legal right to demand an investigation into himself. The system functions exactly as designed. By keeping the threat vague and displacing the punishment onto a secondary target, the institution successfully isolates the couple and avoids any formal accountability for its actions. Legal theorist Janina White calls this structural trap the visibility paradox. Public law exists to hold powerful institutions accountable, but a court can only review a decision if that decision actually exists on paper. This published excerpt outlines the problem. She describes a bureaucratic fog. Institutions learn to avoid creating formal policies or regulatory breaches. Instead, they rely on unwritten rules, whispered classifications, and silent administrative friction to manage problems without ever forming a legally recognizable claim. As highlighted in this passage, Mateo and Evelyn's situation is a textbook example. The practical consequence, Evelyn losing her career, is obvious, but the legal architecture underneath it is invisible. No single decision-maker is named. Different departments point fingers at each other. The couple knows they are being punished, but they cannot identify the legal act that pulled the trigger. They are locked inside a coupled catch-22. Evelyn's career is frozen because of Mateo's unresolved external factor, but his status cannot be resolved because he exists outside the personnel security process. The two rules rely on each other. Without a visible decision to challenge in court, Mateo and Evelyn are left fighting ghosts. The institution risks nothing by waiting, while the individuals suffer complete personal and financial exhaustion trying to prove the invisible walls exist. After years of hitting dead ends, they meet Laura Vale. Laura is a lawyer, but she operates more like a systems architect. She realizes immediately that bringing a standard lawsuit against Pancom will fail. You cannot sue a fog. First, you have to force the fog to take a shape. To do that, Laura brings in Ariadne 9. This machine provides a cold, brutal computational memory. It forgoes the tropes of legal prediction to focus on the exhaustive tracking of every bureaucratic interaction and personnel note. This field method document shows the strategy. Ariadne digests the massive, deliberate noise of the bureaucracy, thousands of emails and administrative deflections. Its job is to find the pattern in the flood and extract the signal, tracking the institutional relationships that human lawyers inevitably forget. The AI is never asked to decide if Evelyn is innocent or if the government is wrong. Its only purpose is to generate a map of the invisible architecture, giving the humans a physical target to strike. Sitting in an oyster restaurant in London, Laura sketches out the counter-offensive. She calls it Catch-23. The premise is simple. Catch-22 compounds helplessness. Catch-23 compounds liability. They don't file a massive, dramatic lawsuit. Instead, they weaponize administrative friction. They file specific data requests, parliamentary questions, and regulatory nudges across multiple jurisdictions. Every time the bureaucracy issues a delay, a denial, or a canned excuse, they feed it into Ariadne. The machine logs the exact phrasing, the timestamp, and the department, slowly plotting the points of the web. Over 5 years, across 37 different institutions, the AI begins clustering these recurring formulations. It catches the U.S. Security Directorate contradicting the Interior Ministry. It links a hidden data protection flaw to Evelyn's supposedly unrelated personnel review. The hidden architecture is finally visible. Catch-23 entirely inverts the power dynamic. The institution's strategy of burying the individual in a massive volume of contradictory noise becomes the exact evidence used to trap them. The map worked, but it demanded a severe toll. The government didn't need to actively plot against Mateo and Evelyn. They simply let the process run until the couple separated from sheer exhaustion. "I don't know where to put you in my life anymore," Evelyn told him. Even after their relationship fractured, Laura's Catch-23 architecture kept running in the background. The machine continued issuing queries, gathering deflections, and building the map, utterly indifferent to human fatigue. The dam finally broke over something minuscule. A data regulator ordered Pancom's partner agency to correct a single field in Mateo's file that incorrectly labeled him a Northern Volga-linked foreign national. That single data correction triggered a fatal chain reaction. Because Ariadne had explicitly linked that specific lie to the foundation of Evelyn's access restriction, the legal justification for her punishment evaporated in real time. The sprawling network of lies, cross-departmental blame, and hidden policies became mathematically impossible to defend. The cost of maintaining the fiction had finally exceeded the cost of yielding. There was no dramatic courtroom confrontation, no judge slammed a gavel, and no official broke down in tears of shame on the witness stand. Large institutions do not feel shame. They simply recalculate their exposure and move on. The government proposed a settlement. They offered a massive financial payout, full restoration in Evelyn's retirement benefits, and a complete correction of their records. In return, the document omitted the word wrongdoing entirely. Mateo and Evelyn reunited at an airport luggage carousel. They were older, worn down by 5 years of administrative warfare, but they were finally free of the invisible rules that had governed their lives. Artificial intelligence will not replace human judgment, and it won't fix broken laws. But by remembering what we forget and mapping the fog we cannot see, it gives individuals the computational leverage to diagnose the hidden pathologies of power and force the machine to look at itself.